I'm in, yep. Down in
Hi,
spring
everybody.
break.
Thanks for being patient. We are excited to have a great panel today, as you can see. I wanted to obviously thank everybody for listening in today. My name is Ari Zuckerman, Vice President at Centercourt Sports Academy. For all the new listeners, our goal for the Centercourt webinar series is to keep valuable information flowing to the international and local tennis community, and to keep all of you engaged with creative ideas through these tough times. Today's topics are going to include all things UTR as our guests, as you can see with our guests, and we are mainly going to focus as well on pertinent information regarding players looking to play high school and college tennis. Our very special guests today are Dave Fish, who is the Harvard men's tennis coach and the UTR head of development. Alongside Dave is Matt Andre, who's the UTR college program manager. For those of you that don't know, the UTR is the Universal Tennis Rating. It's an unbelievable system. Centercourt's been using it for 4 years, and you'll learn much more about it in the next hour. Joining us as well is my regular guest, legendary tennis coach Conrad Singh, who is the COO and director of coaching and head of performance at Centercourt Sports Academy. Finally, Rick Harrison is coming onto our webinar for the first time, who's going to add some valuable input as well. Rick is the Centercourt membership director. That being said, we are obviously going to have a Q&A. If anybody has any questions, certainly throw them into the chat. We'll get to them probably later on. We have an unbelievable presentation that Matt and Dave put together. So without further ado, I'm going to give the floor over to Matt. And, you know, we might throw questions in as well, but we look forward to your presentation.
Awesome. Thank you, Ari. Thanks for the great introduction. I want to be sharing my screen, everyone, and excited to be here. I can speak on behalf of UTR. Centercourt's been an amazing partner and really has implemented UTR so well, and we're excited to share some great knowledge with you guys today. And as mentioned, please feel free to add questions in as we're going. We'll answer all the questions to the best of our ability, and hopefully you guys all leave here with a lot of new information on UTR. So just to start, we're going to be going over all things UTR, understanding the rating, how to use UTR for development, high school tennis, college tennis, and some really exciting new features that we've recently come out with that's just going to help everyone, whatever their goals are for tennis and their path. So again, my name is Matt Andre. I head up the college programs at Universal Tennis. In my past life, I worked in tennis development for about 6 years in Florida with an academy called JTCC. A lot of experience coaching junior players like yourself. I've worked in zonals, player development camps, team challenges. So very familiar with that space. And Dave, I'll maybe give it to you to speak a little more about your background.
Sure. So I finished up after a short career at Harvard. I think it lasted 44 years. And in the last 8 or 9 years, I had the good fortune to begin to understand this universal tennis rating and have looked at that as one of the most significant things that we can do in the world of tennis. And so I'm very excited to have our wonderful partners from Centercourt here, and they're great pros, talking with us tonight. And thank you all for the families and coaches and players who may tune into this, because I think that this is the greatest single point of leverage that is going to change tennis whenever we do get back to a new normal for tennis. And I think it's going to change thousands and thousands of people's lives. And so we're delighted to have this opportunity today to talk to you.
Awesome. And we're going to start off with just an overall understanding of the rating. And Dave, everyone is the head of development and has been here since day one. So Dave, if you want to just go over our first few slides as mentioned.
Sure. Well, the really exciting thing is that Universal has done something that's never been done before. It essentially says, look, with all the different, what we call verticals, the USTA junior tennis, college tennis, high school tennis, ITF, International Tennis Federation tennis, and the pros, nobody's ever taken a player's results across all of those verticals and put them together into one coherent package that shows that level of performance for that player, regardless of where that player, man or woman, regardless of age, all over the world. So right now we're ranking 1.7 million players around the world. We've taken in 14 million results. We're running an average of 1,500 events a month, pre-COVID-19, and it's just changing people's lives everywhere we go. So we're excited about it. It is an algorithm-based rating system. So the beauty of UTR is that it's the best grouping tool we've ever seen, in addition to it having now deserving the title as the most accurate rating system in the world. And we'll go into details why that happens, but we also maintain the highest privacy standards concurrent with the European standards, the American standards, etc. What's really interesting on that next slide is that instead of a binary measurement of your ability, you either won or you lost. So if Matt beats me, if I had played a 7-5 in the third set match with him and Matt's rating was much better than him, I would actually get a lift to my rating. So that the beauty of UTR is it's a process-driven rating rather than outcome-driven. So instead of chasing points per round that I advance, I'm actually seeing how do I do against an opponent that I might not be expected to win, but if I can do better than the algorithm might predict, I will actually get a lift. If I play a player below me who the algorithm predicts I should beat that person by approximately this range, and I do it by better than that, I will also get a lift. So playing up and down are kind of equal strengths. The nice part is it measures the strength of your opponent. And so it's a more granular tool for assessing ability. Number two, this percentage of games won and lost is what makes it really special. And so that's what allows us to have this sort of granular look at it. The other thing that's exciting is if you're a player that, if you were a swimmer or a track person, you could lose a race, but still know you ran or swam your fastest time. And that's what UTR lets you do. And then we take up to 30 matches within the last 12 months. And that doesn't mean you need 30 matches. It just means we will take up to that, and those will begin dropping out. I think, Matt, why don't you jump in and talk about how it's calculated?
Yeah, awesome. Thanks, Dave. That's all great stuff. So the match weight is super important when looking at UTR. Every match you're going to play is going to have a weight. And we look at 4 things when calculating match weight. Number one is the length of the match. So if you're playing best out of full 3 sets, that's going to have more weight than a fast 4 set. Or if you're doing best of 5. So longer the format, more the match weight's going to get. My favorite thing when speaking with junior players is talking about the competitiveness. So the closer the 2 UTR players are to each other, they actually get a little bit more weight than farther apart. So as a player, when you're looking at matches, you actually want to really welcome those matches that are close. So for example, a 10 playing a 9.5 is going to have more weight than a wider range. So a lot of times I hear juniors saying, I'm a 10 UTR, I only want to play a 12. Or I'm a 10, I don't want to play an 8. You really want to look for that UTR that is close to you. Of course, you can't always control that. And then going off that as well when talking about kind of expected outcome within matches and how the rating is calculated. So every match is going to have an expected outcome. So whether you are say you're a 10 playing an 11, there's going to be an expected outcome, just like if you were a 10 playing a 9. So what's great about that is no matter the situation, you have an opportunity to increase your UTR. So if you're a 10 playing a 9, let's say there's an expected outcome of 6-3, 6-2 of you winning. If you beat that, you actually will most likely be going up with your rating. So as a junior player, you should be playing all matches, welcoming all matches, and especially those really competitive ones are a great opportunity to improve your rating. Then the next step is reliability. So this will be talking about you're going to have more weight on a match if your opponent's more reliable, meaning they have a fully verified UTR, they've played a lot of players, and they might have played a lot of international players or local players, but having more reliability is going to help the match weight. And then time degradation, meaning we're trying to give accurate ratings of your current form. So matches that are in the last few months, UTR is actually going to weight more. So that match that might have happened 10 months ago, don't worry about it too much. Our rating is calculated every night. So just some things to take into consideration there.
Yeah. Hey, Matt, could I chime in with one more point about that?
Yep. Absolutely.
Is it one of the interesting things is that when players have been brought up in a system where you're chasing points, I don't mean in a bad way, I just mean you're pursuing points and you're awarded points based on whatever round you reached, regardless of the level of the player that you beat. The difference with UTR is it's not supposed to be something that is always incremental. It's very hard to move up levels. And that's why you see our UTR curve that is shaped this way, because the higher you get, the harder it is to climb. It's like an icy slope. So you see Federer and Nadal and Serena, they don't get there. There are very few people that ever get there. So when you're used to cruising through the lower levels of UTR, and then you hit a time when it's harder to advance, don't get discouraged. Your rating should change very, very little over time. What you're looking at is, am I working on the right things to improve? Am I getting better at that? And if I get better at that, I'm going past a lot of players, not just one player that might live across the town that is my rival. And so it's really important how you think and get your head around this, that this is a tool. It's not something to worry about hundredths of a point or often tenths of a point changes. It's like your stocks. They go up and down every day against 1,000,000.7 players every day. It's a dynamic calculation. So think about your improvement over the long haul and think about the process by which you're trying to get better, and don't get sucked into looking at tiny changes in your UTR every day. You'll drive yourself crazy, and your parents too.
Awesome. Right with you. Perfect, Dave. Great. So our next slide, we're going to talk about some common UTR myths. So just some things that we've heard junior players and parents and of all backgrounds thinking with UTR. We just want to go over these. Number one is playing lower rated players will hurt my UTR, or I can only play higher rated players to improve my UTR. This is a myth, as I mentioned a few minutes ago. Every match is going to have an expected outcome. So if you're that higher player, and you're playing someone that's lower, you have an equal chance of improving your UTR as if you're playing a player that is better than you. So never want to see someone saying, oh, they're lower than me, I have no chance of improving. That is a myth. All matches are going to give you that opportunity to improve if they're in that 2 UTR threshold. Next myth is reaching the 7-game competitive threshold means your UTR will go up. This is a myth. This is actually one that I thought was true maybe 3-4 years ago. There is no 7-game competitive threshold. Again, every match has an expected outcome. It takes into consideration the reliability of your opponent, the match length, all those weights that I touched about. So no 7-game threshold. Whoever started that myth did a pretty good job, because I've heard it several times, but not true. And then the last myth is withdrawing or defaulting from matches will help protect my UTR. Nope, that is another myth. We actually flag matches when you are withdrawn or defaulted. And this is something that college coaches do look at. They look at, and I know your coaches, they'll look if you withdraw from a match. If you start a match and withdraw, those games are still going to go into the rating, because again, we're looking at not the wins or losses, but the number of games there. So, and I know, Dave, you're going to be touching on this a little bit down the road today.
Yeah, and also to your point, Matt, the reason these are myths is UTR is not designed to be gameable. The important thing is that every coach worth his or her salt understands that a player, to be a complete player, has to learn to manage the pressure of playing down, the same way that Rafa or Federer, every time they walk out on the court, they have a target on their back. But they also have to manage a different kind of emotional pressure when they're playing up, when they're saying, gee, I don't have a chance here. Why should I even bother? Why should I try for more games? And so good coaches and parents who know what they're doing should always be saying, no, you've got to balance both to get a healthy diet. It's like eating vegetables, and it's like eating fresh fruit and all the things. It's really organic food that you need to be your best competitor. And so don't get sucked into these little games thinking that you can ever avoid a challenge and actually grow, because nobody has ever grown by avoiding a challenge.
Dave and Matt, could I ask a quick question?
Please.
Yeah, absolutely.
Obviously, being in charge of the performance program, we have well over 200 players in that program. Everyone's super motivated and obviously, working hard daily. It's very easy for them to let's say, forget about the importance of day-to-day development and start focusing on purely this UTR number, which becomes a paralytic concept for some of those mentally immature players. They don't necessarily understand what we're talking about here, that it's a number that's going to go up and down, et cetera, et cetera. The other factor that's a little bit of it has shown to be a little bit of an issue. There are some parents, not all, and we know how important parents are in the journey of developing players. Some parents who maybe as a job, maybe that is what they do. They manage stocks, or there are ways to make decisions to make things become successful. What message do you give to them that these are kids that need development first? The number is going to take hold second, and there is no shortcut. There is no way around it. There is no managing this so that you are only successful. Guys?
Yeah. Matt, do you mind if I take a cut at that?
Yeah, and I'll jump in after you. I have some thoughts too,
Yeah,
but go ahead,
please.
Dave.
So I think it's always very easy to separate the perceived goal. If I'm in school and I'm merely trying to get an A, instead of trying to concentrate on what I'm actually learning, teachers are going to understand I'm missing the point. Now, as Conrad, as you said, it's an immature point of view. It's when you take a person in grade school and they get so excited about getting a gold star that they can go home and show their parents. It's really about the learning. So those are simply means that we use to teach a person to strive for better. If a person doesn't grow out of that habit, it becomes a truly paralytic mindset that we want to avoid. So same way we wouldn't just try for an A, we would try to become a good learner. That's what you're asking the kids to concentrate on. And I think the great coaches find a way to get the player to understand this is a distraction. And just like Federer now are playing for, what are they playing for? $3.7 million in the finals of the Open. They didn't learn to handle those distractions, to put them in the back of their mind, unless they did those things at 13 and 14. So Matt, yours.
Yeah, no, awesome. Thanks for the question, Conrad, and I love talking about this with juniors, especially coming from a junior background and development. I think the biggest thing is, number one, there's no gaming the UTR system. Don't think short-term goals right now. I mean, you're going to really want to focus on your long-term. You can try to win those games. Maybe if you go back to pushing and things like that, maybe you see that help out for a week or so, but it's not going to help you in the long term. With your long-term goals, let's say you're a 6 UTR and you want to go play at a big college school that's an average of like 12 UTRs. You need to look at those players and see what they're doing. If I'm a 12 UTR, you're able to use a slice. You're able to serve and volley. You can take time away, come into the net. So if you really want to get to that, you need to look at those skills that they have, and then you need to develop those. And there's no better time to develop it when you are 10, 11, 12. Everyone listening in, you have world-class coaches at Centercourt, and you really have to trust them. They know what they're doing. They know how to develop players, but there's no shortcuts to it. So I would really say focus on those long-term goals and see what you have to do to get there.
Great.
Can I throw in one more question before we get to the next slide? It has to do with, I'm kind of stealing Kirsten Benetti's question. She's a regular at our club and has 2 boys who are incredible tennis players, both pretty young. So I guess my question would be, we know that age really is not a factor in UTR. You can have a 10-year-old play a 16-year-old, both the same rated players. They realistically should have the same score. I guess so. One would be, would age ever take shape in any sort of UTR rating? And my other question is, or why is it not involved? I guess that's kind of my 2-part question. I mean, I arrange matches all the time, and recently we actually added age as a question because I like to have kids play each other around the same, rating first, age second. Sometimes a 10-year-old might play a 15-year-old. There are issues with power, obviously, and strength, even if they're the same rating. So that's always a concern with a lot of our parents. So just maybe if Dave and Matt could address that real quick before the next slide. I think that's a huge one on a lot of our kids' minds.
Yeah, Matt, you want to go first?
Yeah, I mean, I think number one is is we do not factor age, and we don't look at the gender, we don't look at the age, we don't look at your socioeconomic background. It is a universal rating, and that's really what we stand by. And I think with following up on that question, you have to understand UTR is simply a tool. It is not a be all. This is who you are. It does not define who you are. This should be a tool to help you develop, help you find your pathway to Division I tennis, club tennis, high school tennis, whatever it is, it's a tool. And I don't think anything's perfect in the world, and we are a great tool, and age is just not something we look at. It is something down the road. We are looking at a colored ball rating that will be coming out in the future. But just to the simple answer to that question, we do not currently look at age. Dave, do you want to add anything in there?
Yeah, I would. I said, Matt, you hit on the key point that UTR is just a tool. So when you have great pros like these guys, pros know that you want to keep kids in age-appropriate grouping. I'll give you two examples. So there are two kinds of 13-year-olds. There's a 13-year-old that still has and I don't mean to insult anybody, but still hasn't grown into a deep voice and isn't growing a beard yet. And that person, when they age up into the 14s, they really may not be ready to move up. They may be very happy continuing to play with people of their level. And so tournament directors and club owners have a responsibility to allow those kids to still play in their social group appropriately. On the other hand, I watched Pete Sampras when he was 13 play at Kalamazoo in the national championships, in the 16 and under championships. And he deserved, based on his level, he deserved to be at that level. So age appropriateness is how good tournament directors use this tool properly. I'll give you another example. If you've got a player that was a great basketball player, he hurts himself, he comes out, his buddies on the tennis team say, hey, come out, you're 17 years old, and this kid's a great athlete, he knows how to get a couple of serves in, but he's really got a very low level rating. That person probably should not be put with the 10-year-olds who might beat the pants off him, because it would be very discouraging socially to be put in a group like that. And so there's a way to bracket an event for a high school player who might be more novice level. So this is how we count on tournament directors to use their brains, because the brains plus the technology is the winning combination.
Perfect. Awesome. Thanks, Dave. I hope we got to that answer there. And again, any other questions or follow-ups, we're happy to help out there as we go through.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, we're always interested as you guys move forward into, a possible color ball system. We would Centercourt, and a lot of the parents would love to try it out, because we do have youth, orange and green ball and even red ball matches. So, right now, if they can get into the UTR family, that would be amazing down the road.
Well, and Matt, if I could, say you have two players, one's a 10-year-old and one's a 17-year-old, but they're both 5.0 UTRs. Hasn't the advantages that the older player might have, strength advantages, maturity advantages, aren't those sort of baked into the cake in the UTR rating?
Yes.
Yeah.
For sure. So, Rick,
Okay,
you can have a good match. Yeah, sorry, Matt, go ahead.
No, I'm going to say, yeah, absolutely. I mean, if they're two fully reliable players and they are 5 UTRs, the rating is, if you see the data team we have, how much time we've been developing this for 9 years, it should be a very good match. Yes, a 17-year-old might have some height advantage and things, but at the end of the day, if that's the rating and it's reliable, I would be banking on that rating to be a pretty close match.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, so no, great question. Thanks, Rick. And so I want to jump into high school tennis a little bit. I know we have a wide audience here on this. Dave, if you want to touch on the high school tennis opportunities.
Please, thanks, Matt. So one of the really exciting things about high school tennis is we have 340,000 players across the United States alone, let alone other countries like Australia or England or Canada that also play secondary school tennis. But the bad news about that group of people is it's the largest group of unconnected, underserved players in the world. And so UTR's mission has been to involve all of those players. So as a result, we're giving out for free our platform that Centercourt is actually paying us for. We're giving that platform free to any and all high school programs around the country, because essentially most high schools don't have budgets. They're still trying to get enough money for T-shirts, balls, net straps, etc. And so we so believe in that we believe that this will be the future of the game if we can keep those players involved. So it's a very exciting initiative that's going on. And if anybody knows high school coaches that don't know about this, please have them check in the website. We'll get them started with their team. They can put their roster on. And then UTR can tell them about what we call level-based play the rest of the year, before and after the season. So to go through a couple of these bullet points, we connect these 350 players to the rest of the tennis community. So they're not just living on an island isolated by themselves. Beauty of it is that high school matches are just as official as USTA matches or verified matches that Conrad, Rick, and Mary will run at Centercourt. So it gives a level of credibility to high school, and we know that there's some terrific matches that happen, and we want players to get rewarded and recognized for that. So lots of this effort is to increase the profile of high school tennis, as well as increase the opportunity and connectedness for all these groups. And the nice part about it is once a high school coach has registered on the UTR platform and is on a roster, now college coaches, for the first time ever, college coaches can actually research that player and say, gee, I see that player from New Jersey who could play on my team. So not just can the player now message the coach and begin to follow that coach's program, and Matt will show you that in a few minutes, but that coach can actually reach out. And so it's a tremendous two-way connection that we're excited about. And the other part that we're excited about is that what Matt will show you is these college opportunities are available for a much wider range of players, lots of whom never thought they would have a chance to play in college. And so we're excited about that. The profile that you see for Atomic Isaac Grantham is really exciting. For the first time down in Texas, a player who was working at a grocery store every weekend and couldn't ever take the time off to play USTA events. When his high school coach finally started entering his matches, he was a pretty good player, not an elite level player. That person now is playing on a college scholarship in his second year. So it's a very exciting possibility that this opens up for a much bigger range of players who didn't ever think they had a chance. So first, if you're a young player, focus on how am I doing in my skills to play on my high school team, because you're in for a great experience. And secondly, then you're going to see that there's a wide range of programs that you can play in college. Matt, it's all yours.
So Dave and Matt, if I can pipe in again, I'm fortunate to be on the front line talking to many parents, and obviously one of the concerns with some of the parents and the players, if their schools are not involved in making the matches official and UTR based, is they players lose a bit of motivation, especially if they're training relatively consistently, let's say 2-3 times a week, plus a tournament, and then they go to a school season and they feel like they're playing this season and not getting anything for it. Quite often they lose motivation. So from our perspective and from my perspective, it is beyond critical that those players can continue to work on obviously their game, but because they're not able to train so much, can still contribute to their UTRs. So that when they come back to regular training, regular practice, and maybe USTA tournaments, they don't feel like they've sat stagnant. Many parents often ask us, can you guys speak to the high school coaches to somehow find a way to make the matches become official? We have one girl who's a good player, probably a 7.0, they're about 6.8, 7.0, who played a 8.0 and did really well. Didn't win, but did really well in a high school match. And I mean, she was really gutted, and her dad was really gutted. No one could see that. It didn't stand for anything. So I really hope that the high school coaches do take it on board, that this is a great way to not have those players lose a little bit of competitive motivation. And so getting the matches official, I believe it's very easy to do. Would that be right, Matt?
Yeah, absolutely. Any high school player, any high school coach you guys know that wants to get on board, we're happy to help them, happy to speak with them. I know Dave does this as well every day. Your support is very important in this as a community. I mean, we really are a global tennis community, and we're not as strong without you guys. So if you guys have a team that you want to get on UTR, again, it's a free product. We will work with your coach as much as possible to get it up and running. But such a great tool to be able to get verified matches essentially in your backyard without having to travel during high school season. And again, as I'm going to talk about college, the team environment of tennis is such a fun opportunity and something I think that's taken for granted a little bit, where I think if you have opportunities to play high school, play college tennis, it really makes it fun. And Dave, if you want to touch on that at all?
Yeah, well, just what Conrad said, it makes a person more appealing to a college coach, because when tennis players grow up in a single individual person sport, they often don't have the hardiness to deal with adversity or someone else having maybe playing above them. So the college coaches are always looking for that team player that actually understands, if I go out on the court every day and my pledge is to make my teammates better, every time I give you my best workout, you're going to get better. Imagine then you have a team of go-givers instead of go-getters. And that's what college coaches are looking at. So it's a huge lift. It's also a great break for kids from the pressure. And the other point that I would make is I know a famous Wimbledon champion named Ian Crookenden, who came from New Zealand. And he grew up playing handicap matches. They would play anybody they could play in the club. If a kid only had a good forehand, they would play a set against hitting only to his forehand. They handicapped everything, and they became so capable of getting something good out of every player that they hit with, that they became much more inventive, creative. They learned to hit to one spot on the court, which Conrad and Rick, you know this is an important skill. Sometimes guys got a lousy backhand. You just keep hammering that backhand. And so there's something that you can learn out of every situation. If you've never served and volleyed and you get a chance to play a weaker player, go serve and volley against that player and learn something. Become a better player just at one thing that you finish that practice a day. And when you're a good player and you're around less experienced players, your ability to become a leader is reinforced enormously. And you learn to actually care about someone besides yourself, which is also the mark of a young leader. And you don't pick up those skills if you're never around able to contribute to someone's welfare besides your own.
It's very well said, Dave.
Thank
Yeah, Dave, well, if I can again pipe in, I love that you said that. I mean, it's such a common question from parents. What are coaches looking for? Obviously, we know the prerequisites that are never going to change. Great student, GPAs, SATs, et cetera, But I was speaking to an Ivy League coach last week who was investigating or looking into one of the players we have. And he did not even ask me about, how's he serve, how's his forehand, how's his foot. All he wanted to know is he a giver? Is he a team player? Is he gritty? Is he going to be able to step up when he's struggling? Is he going to contribute when he's injured? Is he going to be on the sideline? Is he going to warm up, that young guy who's walking on? Is he going to be a mentor? They were the questions I was getting. I mean, I try to stress that to parents a lot. Yes, do everything you can from the academic side and from the preparation. I mean, the academics are essential, but it's not, I don't think I've ever had a coach really ask me, what is their technique like? I don't really think, because at this level, everyone can play. So I really hope parents and those kids also listening in understand the power of that message that Dave just gave, that being a go-giver is just so important. And how often are we running a program, a high-performance squad, where, we've got a level difference and we might say, all right, you're handicapped on only slice backhands. In the long run, that is definitely going to help that player. But in the short term, we often get a bad reaction. So kids, please take that message home.
Yeah, and Conrad, if I could add on that, I tend to call it, you actually used the term yourself, it's an immature reaction. And we can't fault kids for being immature because that's the nature of being a kid. And so what we do is we try to draw them into a stronger framework for understanding their own development and their ability to contribute to other people. But I would add that college coaches are also looking at families. They're looking at how the parents interact. They're looking at whether the kid talks back to the parents when the parents are just enthusiastic and the kid shuts him down. They're looking at whether the parent jumps out and carries the rackets off the court or brings the kid bananas. They're looking to see, is this person going to be a high maintenance person that I'm going to take on, or are they coming out of a family that has challenged the growth of their young people with age appropriate challenges, expects them to do things that they're perfectly capable of doing, and doesn't keep treating them when they're 17 as if they're 14 again. Because I knew that if I was going to have a player that would contribute for 4 years, I had to have the family behind that. I had to have the family knowing that when the kid first hit his tough time and he thought I was an idiot, that he's going to call home and say, this coach is an idiot and I can't do it. If the parents think they've got to defend their son at that point, I've got an infantilized son playing on my team. If the parent says, this is what we trained you for, you talk to your coach, don't expect him to change his mind just because it doesn't feel right to you, but treat him like an adult, a young adult. You're going to have to go in and talk to a boss sometime about a raise, and this is how these kids practice. So we look for the parents that have brought the kids up with the right fundamentals, and it never starts too early. All yours, Matt.
Awesome stuff. Perfect. Great. Thank you. We can talk about this all day long. It's awesome.
Forever.
So as we're talking, what we love to do is as we're going into college tennis, we're now actually going to show you a little bit more about what our product has to offer, how to use the UTR tools to find prospective colleges in that junior developmental pathway. To start off, this is a really cool slide. If anyone hasn't seen this out here, it is the player UTR distribution in college tennis today. The number one message we want to get across is college tennis provides opportunities for players of all levels. So as you look at the male chart on the left, believe it or not, 56% of college men fall between a 3 and a 10 UTR. For the female side, 60% of college women fall between a 2 and a 7 UTR. Might be a little shocking at first, but you have to understand there's over 2,000 colleges out there, and there are D1, D2, D3, NAIA, JUCO, tons of opportunities. And no matter your level, no matter your journey, whether you're a top national player, whether you're a high school player, you can have these college aspirations and you can get there. And just setting those goals, understanding the choices. So as you see here, you're going to see the D1 is more towards the higher range, where it's between mostly a 9 and a 14 UTR for men. For the women's, it goes up to a 12 UTR. But just so many opportunities out there for you guys as junior players as you're doing your search. I'm going to kind of go through here, and I'm going to give it over to Dave for a quick few minutes again, where our main takeaways of what we're about to. Sorry, Dave.
No, that's fine. I think, Matt, we've touched on a lot of these. Opportunities are open for everybody. And if you can't play on your college varsity because you've gone to a very strong team, there's also 36,000 players playing in tennis on campus club programs. So that's another opportunity. If you really want to concentrate on biochemistry or physics, and you don't want to have a full-time job the way a D1 job is, tennis career is, then you can find a place. So there's no reason to stop your tennis. Clearly, there's not one path. There's some kids that go play ITF junior tournaments, travel all over the world. Now we've seen that there's a high school player who can get on a college scholarship, only playing high school. So that's an encouraging part for more people. And third, I said this is a process that players follow. UTR is a pathway. It's a marathon. It's not supposed to be a quick fix. There's no way around the hard challenges. You're going to cry sometimes. You're going to be in despair, and sometimes you're going to be on the top of the world. That's the nature of the game. That's the nature of improvement. And then do be careful. If you look at the different levels of eligibility, understand that if you start high school at a certain age, you're expected to finish within 4 years, or else a clock starts ticking and you have to be in college or else lose years of eligibility. So if you're looking at an NAIA or a junior community college or a D1 or D3, they all have different rules, and it's important to avail yourself of that knowledge before you ever need it.
Hey,
That's
Matt,
it.
I believe you're going to show some of these slides down the road, but for you know, a lot of our listeners are probably in the New Jersey East Coast area. Yeah, UTR has a tool where they can kind of search for most local colleges and see the ratings of their current players. Is that correct, or am I making that up?
Correct. Yep. And I'm going to jump into that article called UTR College Fit.
Great.
And it's going to go into everything there. So that's 2 slides away, but we're
All right,
excited
that was my
to show that
tease.
to you guys.
Tease for that. Cool.
Awesome. Love it. And then this is actually something Dave has put together on how college coaches UTR. So we'll touch on this quickly with Dave, and then from there, I'm going to show you guys all the tools on UTR.
Yeah. So very quickly, just think of UTR as what's your GPA, really quickly. And then you want to see how's the kid doing in chemistry? How's he doing in English? And it may not be so important how he's doing in his computer programming class if he's concentrating in the humanities. So that's a first estimate that college coaches may look at. And you may hear this language, you know, what's your UTR? College coaches are not simpletons. And as I said, they begin to look at all the other factors once they've established, is this person in a reasonable range where I can see that person play? And Matt will show you the great tool, UTR Fit. So, and then Matt also talked about character. And college coaches asked us to start recording how many times a player defaults or doesn't finish a match or drops out of a tournament, because we know that's developmentally an unhealthy practice. It's also really discourteous to the player who's there expecting a match. So if we think we're developing character, you develop character by show up, keep your commitment, etc. College coaches called it a wuss factor. They want to know, and we didn't want to put a red letter on someone and say, this guy's a terrible person. No, that's an immature attitude. And so college coaches wanted to see that. In the same way you use your academics, I'm going to look at your essays, your interviews, your recommendations, etc. I'm going to look beyond your SATs, beyond your GPA, and see what kind of student you would be in my class. In the same way the tennis coach is going to see what kind of player you would be when you're sitting in my practice. That's it.
Awesome. Thank you, Dave. So without further ado, we come to College Fit. So leading up to all this, so I'm going to do a quick high-level overview of all the tools, and then I'm actually going to give everyone a live demo and how you can access these. So College Fit's great as you're starting potential lists, what you can do. Anyone with a free profile. I understand a lot of you guys are in the Power subscription, which is going to give you some more features as well. You can put in your UTR up here, put in let's say UTR that's going to be your goal, where you want to play within a lineup, and you're then going to be able to search over 2,000 schools and where you fit. So I'll be going into that in a live demo. Once you go to the college roster or the college team page, you can look at their roster. So if I said I was going to wanted to be a 13, I would know where I'd fit within the roster. Also keep an eye out for their graduating year. A team with more seniors are going to have a few more openings as you're contacting these schools and you're making your list. So you can look at the team rosters. I'll be showing that as well. We've also developed a really amazing new feature that actually shows the team's conference comparison for their top 6 lineup versus the rest of the conference. So the red dots are going to be Stanford. The rest are going to be within the Pac-12. As a junior player, what I would do here is I would say you can get a better understanding of where you would fit within a conference. If I'm a 12.5 UTR and you come across here, you'd probably be around that 5-6 range at the current time in the Pac-12. So as you're on these college pages, which I'll show you, take advantage of this tool. It gives you a really good overlook of the conference and strength. From there, as you go to these college pages, highly recommend following these schools. This is letting a coach know that you are interested. So I'm going to show you this again in the product, but you can follow as many schools as you want, create your list. You'll get updates from the schools on schedules if they're hosting events. The colleges are now running events, which is a really good opportunity to actually get in front of college coaches. But take advantage of following these schools. And then the last thing I show you before we go into the UTR is as a player, any profile, you can now update your student info. So this is an example here of a player's student info. This is a free feature for everyone. The only people who will see this information are college coaches. Your academy coaches won't see this. This is going to be for college coaches only that are on our college subscription. So update this information, put in your private coach. This is super important if you are under the recruiting age. So if Conrad's your coach, put in Conrad's name. Hope that's okay, Conrad. And then they will contact him and they'll know more about you. So this is a new feature you can do. And from there, I do want to jump into actually seeing the inside the product, what this looks like. Hopefully everyone can see my screen here. So we're going to be on our UTR homepage. Just from a high level overview, we've really become so much more than a rating where we have players, events, webinars. If you haven't seen our UTR All Access series, I actually think Ali Risk is on a webinar right now with our team. And then you can come down here further. You can see top pro players, college. We have junior world rankings now for U18, U16. We have high school ratings. So if your high school team is on here, you can actually see your high school rating. But for finding college fit, which is what I'm going to show next, two options. You can hit college fit here, or you can come up in the search bar and hit colleges. Once you go there, you're going to have your college fit page. So these are going to be all the colleges. It's going to be filtered by Power 6. What Power 6 is, it takes your top 6 players in lineup by UTR, adds them up, rounds them to the nearest whole number. These will actually soon be 2 decimal points for all Power subscribers. I believe it's going to be in our next release. And an example here, I'm going to say I want to be a 12.5 UTR playing top 6. Let's say we're going to be a male player right now. Here's going to be the schools where I can fit right now with that UTR. As you go down, you can search more and more. In addition to this, say we want to go look at Arizona State, just for an example. Sorry if it loads and now I'm going to be taking this back to college fit as well to do a few more examples. So once you get to the page, you can come down here. Sorry, it's a little slow with the Wi-Fi and work from home. You're going to have their team banner photo up here. We're going to have our chart. You're going to be able to go on to their roster. So I said I wanted to be a 12.5 in top 6. If you look at here, I would fall right into here. But this is a great way for you as a player to start seeing where you can fit within a lineup. So super great tool here. I'm actually going to go back into college fit. I'm going to do a few more examples. So again, as you hit colleges here, college fit's going to come up. Let's say I'm an 8.5 top 6 UTR. We can go to the gender. Let's go female right now. You're going to see these schools. So tons of opportunities no matter what your UTR range is. If you want to go by division, you can go into here. If you want to go with conference, and then you can go with location as well. So if you haven't taken advantage of this, spend some time, start creating lists, and then follow those schools as well. I'm going to be showing a few more team pages here. So I pulled up a New Jersey school at Princeton. So say you're interested in Princeton, number one, follow them. Follow as many schools as you like. You're going to have coaches over here. Again, you can see the roster. I am going to take a closer look into our UTR lineup versus conference. So this is going to be Princeton versus the Ivy League. Pretty cool. As you hover over the dot, it'll actually say who the player is. And then if you hover over the other team, it will across the board light up that team. So brown is all lit up now in that yellow neon color. And again, as a player, this is great to understand where you would fit within a conference. You can also view their schedule here if they are hosting any events. And this is going to be their member roster. So if you are following their school on UTR, you're going to be coming up in your member roster. And I speak with college coaches every single day. That is my job, and they are looking at this member roster. They notice if you're following them. If you're a junior player, they know, and they can also then message you directly. So do expect to get some messages where it will go to your email and your UTR profile. Just flipping through a few more college pages. Here's a University of Wisconsin women's team, a team I worked with earlier today. Again, and also college coaches, they are going to have this message bubble. It's a feature that college coaches are turning on where you can actually message the coaches directly through UTR. So a good way to get in contact with them. One more page here. We also have media tabs on colleges, so check out their media. This is really becoming that new landing page for college tennis. So really take advantage of what we have here, and we're excited to continue growing this. And then there's just two more quick demos I want to show here is what you can do as a player to help get noticed. So as a player, I've actually put together this guide, and I think this is super important for all players, and I will share this with your coaches, everyone listening in, where you want to actually go ahead and complete your college profile for recruiting. You want to have that photo. You want to have a banner photo. It shows coaches you're being proactive. You want to fill out your where you train academy-wise. You can do it in about section. You can then do your academic info, as I mentioned. I'm going to jump over here. So I'm actually on my profile here. So on your tab, there's student info. Come in here. You can put your high school, location. If you have your test grades, put them in here. You're also able to leave those blank. You can upload a tennis transcript or a resume, what your current coursework is. I'm going to show you a complete profile here. There's a colleague that we work with. He's going to have GPA, SAT score, transcript. Coaches will be able to download this. Dave Fish is the coach here. And then they're going to be able to see your age and graduating year. And from there, that's the quick demo of what we have here. And then I guess we can open up to any questions, or Dave or anyone wants to jump in on that.
Can I jump in real quick on the recruiting aspect of it? Because I guess, Matt, you just said you talk to coaches pretty much all the time. How much recruiting right now is going on through them, just kind of searching, for certain types of players in certain areas, as opposed to in the past, or, yeah. I mean, what are the coaches saying?
Right now, coaches are at home. That is what I'm hearing, and they have time on their hands more than ever, and they are using UTR. Our just outreach and how many coaches are coming to us right now asking, we need to get on all these new features. I'm actually going to show you one more demo as you brought that. They are looking for profiles now, and they are looking for profiles that are complete, because it shows that their message is going to get received, that you're proactive on there. So there is recruiting being done right now. There's no visits that kids can do. But that communication, that outreach they're doing is happening. And for our coaches' view, I do want to show you guys this. Coaches actually have these features where they can put in graduating year. They can also put in age. So if we want to go ages 15 to 18, we want to go 21, 22. Sorry, bear with me as this loads. They want to do a UTR range. Let's say they're looking for a 9 to a 12. Perfect. Oh, I don't think it picked that one up. They want to do it. That didn't pick up there, but they're going on here, and they are looking for players. They're able to see your age and graduating year as you're filling that information out. And when they see a player with a photo here, they are more likely to reach out to you, knowing that you're proactive. Their message will be received.
Interesting. Yeah, I see some of our kids there.
Awesome. Yeah. No. So you're going to be viewed here. So it's great. It's a great feature. And if they see this message bubble, they might reach out to you. So be sure your profile is complete. And as mentioned, I will share this guide with everyone in the Centercourt team to share with your players.
Awesome. That's massive. That's a great tool. And I guess, I mean, what was more or less the old school way of recruiting, going to, I guess, tournaments, obviously, right? And just watching players there. I guess this is a little bit easier and less expensive.
It definitely causes, helps with the travel part. And
Right.
Guys, what I'm hearing from coaches is, with everything happening right now, there's probably going to be even less travel. So coaches really are going to jump onto UTR a little bit more. But then again, remember, UTR is a tool. This is going to be a starting point at times for coaches. And then that's going to open up the conversation. Then they want to know about your character. They're going to want to see you play. If you have videos of you playing, if travel's less, super important to get those taken care of. But coaches are using this as a tool for starting that recruiting process. And Dave, you may have a few thoughts here too. I think you're on mute, Dave.
Sorry. So this is simply what coaches are using. I mean, I use it 20 times a day. when I would come on. And for me, unfortunately, college coaches, because there are fewer Americans that can play at the high level the college is, a lot of times college coaches are hearing more from the international players than they are from the American players, which is why we're working so hard to have the high school players included. And so for a college coach who's looking to make his or her best team, the ability to decide a kid's results who comes from Moscow or Melbourne or Miami or Minneapolis, I can now compare apples to apples. So it's a tremendous tool, but it also means the American kids need to really put their best foot forward in the same way that I need to put my best foot forward as a college coach. If someone comes on and looks at the Harvard page, and I'm not controlling it now, but if it's not up to date and used as a promotional vehicle, and another coach, a rival is, then we don't look as up to date, as sort of polished as another college. And so a recruit should think that same way. The same way you want to clear up your Facebook posts, and because everybody's going to look at Facebook posts, see what you do. And so it's first impressions matter a lot, and it's hard to change a bad first impression.
I love it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, do you want to open up for some questions, or I don't know, do Rick and Conrad, do you guys have any questions about the College Fit tool? That before we get into some questions from the audience.
I might, Ari. Look, Dave, you mentioned the international players. Obviously, I come from Melbourne, Australia. I was in China for 15 years before being here in the US. And many players are looking for those opportunities to get to colleges. And I really feel like UTR has become a really simple way for those people to get in touch with the coaches and give themselves a chance. My question is kind of reverse to that. Do coaches consider players contacting them, by message or not by the old school way to be an okay thing? Because I have heard coaches say, if I get an email and it says "Dear Coach" or it doesn't address me by my name, then I'm not even going to read the email. I mean, is that true?
Actually, depending on the level, if you're trying to catch a coach's attention, to not even take the time to be courteous enough to address the coach by name, that's a shortcoming in my opinion. And so, and I would occasionally get letters that say, "Dear Coach Fish, I've always wanted to be at Princeton." And so that means, it's another carelessness, and they have a lot of egg on their face after that. So really taking the time, understanding we've got great technology, but don't just use it to be lazy. Use it to understand what that program is like, because same way you go in for a job interview, you don't go in and say to the president, "Hey, tell me about your company."
Yeah.
It's like, no, I want to know the person that's cared enough to do real research, understands how we did last year. And that's an evidence of his commitment and caring, not just trying to find, will you give me a scholarship? That tells a lot about you.
The other part to the question, if I could ask it quickly, I've had guys send videos, to me saying, "Could you help us to find the right coach?" I swear they would have spent thousands of dollars on this unbelievable Hollywood quality production with insane music coming from the hottest DJ that's out there and this flashy stuff. I've heard coaches say they look at 90 seconds and they're done. So what advice do you give anyone that, maybe doesn't have the ability to get to this crazy, insane, amazing camera? What could they do that's considered to be a good, decent quality video for a coach?
It's a wonderful question, Ari. In Harvard admissions, the admissions directors used to have a phrase that said, "The thicker the folder, the thicker the student." And so the more fluff that they got thrown at them by senators and congressmen and people that didn't know the player, the more the red flag went up and said, this player may not be able to handle on it, his or her own. Same thing with the college player. You can put in all that money and it's just hiding something, because a college coach looks at it for a minute, says, "Is this player in my range? Does that look like a player who's playing on my team now? And then if so, I absolutely dive in deeper. So you want to have some real points. Ideally, you don't want to have points that are scripted so that you're playing against a duffer on the other side of the court who's just setting you up and you look like you never miss a forehand. That you're playing a real match, because that's what a coach is recruiting, is a real player, not someone that, technology has put together some highlights, makes him look like Roger Federer. So be realistic, don't use the fluff, but also be realistic about what level you're trying to achieve, and don't blow smoke at a coach, and don't tell him that I was ranked, number 5 in my county when I was 12 years old.
Right.
Coaches are really, give me the bullet points, tell me what you've done right now. We have a famous joke in college coaches that says, have you ever received a letter in which an applicant said, gee, coach, my ranking overestimates my ability? It's never happened.
Never.
Don't make excuses for your first communication to a coach. Say, here's where I am. I'm going to keep trying like heck to improve, and I hope I can contribute to your team. And let the coach figure that out.
Great points. Great
Yes.
points, Dave.
Excuse me.
To touch on that, Dave, I mean, as I talk to college coaches every day, they say all these emails are coming in. I'm a UTR this, but I really play like this. And again, I mean, that's 60% of the emails they're getting. They know that.
Yeah.
And they really do rely. I mean, UTR is a big part of what they do. We work with them very closely. Our goal is to give them tools to help them better recruit and evaluate players. So they understand. They're going to look at your results. Be really proactive. They want to see emails from you, not from your parents. They want on the videos, they want to see point play. When I'm talking to college coaches, we talk about recruiting all the time, and they can see a lot within that first 2 to 3 minutes of point play. You don't need to fluff it up with all of this, and we know you can hit a fed ball forehand. It's the point play that's really important to them.
Yeah, and really what point play shows is your ability to make decisions under pressure. Anybody can get out and repeat something against a practice wall or against a fed ball and look like, wow, that player is sensational. But when you get into the decision making, some players make good decisions because they played a lot of matches, both up and down, and they are comfortable with their decision making. That's why Roger Federer is so brilliant. He's always calculating what's the result of this shot that I can expect. And so players get better the more matches they play. And I would venture to say that our European counterparts play many more matches under pressure than the American players. The American players tend to get coaches, they feed them balls, the kid comes off feeling like a hero after a Tuesday clinic, and then on Saturday wonders why he doesn't belong on the court. The only way to do that is to pressure test those skills, and those skills will hold up when you get used to competing under pressure, and there's no way to do it other than playing matches. So the more matches you can get, as Matt said, close to, around your level, so there's not a stretch too far either way, that's the optimal way to develop a pathway forward.
Yeah, luckily Conrad does a great job of that. I mean, we push our kids, as best as we can to train to compete on the weekends. Whether it's USTA, UTR, hitting with friends, USTA and UTR. We have kids that I just got knocked out of USTA tournament. Can I play a match? So I totally agree that there's really no substitute for getting out there.
Sorry, could I ask one question? I know we're going to have to wrap it up shortly.
A few more.
There's very little talk about the doubles UTR, which, we all know a lot of players that were good, solid singles players, but exceptional doubles players. And so what's your take on that? And, even the events we run, we've been talking recently about holding a lot more kind of Super League events where it's team-based, so singles and doubles, and playing, reverse doubles, reverse singles, because we feel that the double side is very important, obviously, in development. What do you guys take on the importance of doubles and the doubles UTR?
Yeah, Matt, I might try that as a college coach. It's like the biggest bonanza when I can get a player who's an extra special doubles player, because college teams are so even right now that these teams are fiercely competitive and they're good enough to split 3 and 3 in the singles. who can ever come out and get a top #1 team and move everybody else down, it's a winner. The great seasons are made by having a great doubles team. So just what you're doing is what American players lack. And it's a big advantage that Americans have because Europeans tend to not take doubles as seriously. And so the kids that come out of the good programs where they've played doubles, they've improved their single skills just the way McEnroe used to play doubles as a way of training. He got a little bored by training, but he loved doubles because he was working on serve, return, first volley, which was his singles game. And so doubles is absolutely paramount. And you don't wait until you get to be 16 to say, now I'm working on my transition to a college game. You have to learn to do it. It's like learning a slice. You don't learn a slice till you're 16 because someone says, you're going to hit a slice like this. You're never going to get the feel. If a coach understands, we're going to give you a full toolkit, it's going to take a while for that to look like a mature tool. But then that player is really equipped to handle it. Now you look at Roger Federer, he can win with Wawrinka over the Bryan brothers in the Olympics. They're good, and he knows how to volley. He knows how to return. So I would say more power to you, and the college coach is going to put a red carpet out for you if you're a good doubles player.
Hey guys, so we seem to still be getting a question about New Jersey high school results. Matt, can you tell us, do all New Jersey high school matches, I know we touched on this before, do those get input automatically? Is there something stopping them from all being put into UTR? How's that supposed to work?
Coach have to put them in, right?
Yeah. So Matt, I might touch that because we've been
Yeah,
working
Dave,
closely.
you're in the high school space more than me.
Yeah, we've been working closely with the New Jersey Athletic Association, and their desire is to get all teams in. So the COVID virus stopped the momentum on that, so we haven't done it. But our hope and call to action would be for every high school coach, whether even if your season was abbreviated, which they have been, is to claim your school. All the schools are pre-populated on the UTR tool. Claim your school and then invite all the kids on your roster to join, because then they're in the system. You can communicate with them. You can message them. You can set performance goals for how many push-ups and sit-ups you do. You can have a way of communicating. It's an unbelievable tool that every high school coach can take advantage of.
Okay, so to get your New Jersey high school results put in, it's really just up to whoever your coach is.
It's up to the coach, and if the coaches won't lift a finger, there's not a lot you can do. So parental pressure, just subtle pressure to say, if you know what's good for you, you'll get the results in. And
Right. So you they have to input them, yeah.
That's how things are done in New Jersey, isn't it?
Yeah, well, and in our area, I don't think it's a problem because the coaches are very competitive. We're not going to have one coach who just doesn't do it.
Great.
Another question we're getting is, how would you differentiate between a player, a junior player, I assume, who is a 9, but grew up playing in Moscow, as compared to a 9-rated junior who grew up in California?
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I would say, the number one thing, as I mentioned, is they're going to look at the reliability of that player. If that Moscow player is a fully reliable player with enough results, they would probably look at him pretty similar. I do think they would favor the California player a little bit more in that sense, just at a personal guess, because we are more prominent in the U.S. As we do grow more globally and internationally, these international players are going to become a little bit reliable. So for right now, I'd say maybe the California player would be a little stronger looked at, but again, it's going to depend how reliable that rating is. So if that rating on their profile is fully green and they have enough matches.
Right. Yeah, I can understand the American getting a better look from college coaches, but theoretically, whether it's Moscow or California, a 9 is a 9 is a 9, right?
That's
Correct.
right.
Yep.
And yet remember that no tool is perfect because you're taking players across different surfaces, different climates, indoor carpet, you're playing against outdoor clay. And so no system is going to calibrate anything perfectly. This is the closest estimate that has ever happened in the world of tennis. And it's right now tracking as the most accurate rating system in the world, even against ATP, WTA. It's more accurate because it's so granular in taking games won versus games lost. And so so college coaches know enough to look at a 0.5 difference in Moscow and Miami and understand, hey, they may be very much the same players. In the same way we tell players, don't get bent out of shape over a difference of a tenth or 100th. It is never that fine a tool to do it. It's a wonderful tool for grouping and estimating levels. And it's been unbelievable for seeding, which a lot of sections now have voted to use UTR solely for seeding their sectional championships because it's just better than the results that they get, the accuracy that they're getting out of points per round ranking systems.
Okay.
We did get a question. We did get a question. I guess that might have been before you guys talked about doubles, but I guess do college coaches look at UTR doubles as well? Because there's probably a lot less players that have that rating, but is that?
Well, Ari, they all have a doubles rating if
Right.
they have any doubles results.
If they have
And
any
in
results,
fact,
right? They might be reliable.
in fact, in USTA adult league results, 90% of the matches are doubles. So those players may only have a doubles rating. So those players do have that. And in fact, if I had a doubles specialist on my team, his doubles rating would usually be higher than his singles rating. So
Gotcha.
it's accurate. And as we get more data, it will continue to track more and more accurately. We're still having countries come on board all the time and say, I want our results in there, because if we don't have the domestic results from a certain country, those juniors are at a disadvantage when being recruited. And so there's a kind of market pressure to get their results in. And that's why we're working so hard with high school too.
And just to touch on that, I mean, our data team, our goal is to improve the rating every single day. We learn every day. We learn from results. We're testing. We do have a doubles rating out. That's getting so much better, and they're spending a lot of time on it. So absolutely, they will look at the doubles UTR. And obviously the singles is probably the first one they see. But then again, they're also going to look at it when they can see you play and looking if you can volley, if you come into the net, all of those things. So yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. Yeah, there's just less doubles events, I think, available. We don't run as many just because it's it's harder overall for a number of reasons to.
Of course.
But yeah, I mean, we're always looking for creative ideas to get more doubles involved. But let me see. I have okay. We got a nice question from Dave Shambach. You want to know about the UTR pro players? I guess. I mean, what's the difference between like a number one player like a Djokovic and let's say like a top 200 guy like I don't know, a Donald Young or Noah Rubin as compared to let's say like a top college guy at Harvard or Michigan? I mean, in terms of just numbers, are they close?
Yeah, let me see if I can. I'll share my screen real quick. Let's see what we can.
Yeah, if you can do a shared screen on just so people have an idea of what we're looking at is. I know Novak's probably yeah.
Well, Novak's 16 and
Novak,
change. A guy like Noah Rubin's going to be 15 and change, and a guy at a top college like a SEC school or something is going to be a 13 and change probably.
Yeah, and you can see the range. I mean these two guys are just next level, of course, as we all know. But as you go down to those mid 15s, you're going to see like the Opelkas, the up and coming Americans. You're going to see queries down here. We do really cool. Tennis Channel is one of our big partners, and as they are airing live matches, they'll actually put the UTR next to the current ranking. And a lot of times the UTR is a little more accurate because a number of reasons why someone's ranking may be where it is due to injury. But I will show you some of the college players quickly here.
Do you guys have a surface rating? I saw that at some point on the Tennis Channel where you had surface ratings.
We do have a surface rating. Those are internal, and we'll release them within like the Tennis Channel coverages. We'll do
I see. Gotcha.
The French Open. It won't be here, but you will see trending UTR here. So I can show you the top college players. You can actually look at the top 50 right here. So the top college player, this gentleman Jensen Brooksby, was a little bit injured this year at Baylor, but he's a 14.89. Won a round of the U.S. Open this year. You're going to see, I watched these guys play this year live. USC, I mean, a mid 14 is a very, very strong level. So you're going to come down here. This is the males. If you want to look at the females for top college players, 12 is about the highest you're going to get here. Some really good mid 11s.
Interesting.
Let's go look at the pro women we can look at quickly here. And again, anyone who's listening on here, this is available for you to search, have fun with it, go on the player search tool. Anyone can do this. So for the pro women, we got a 13.44 with Andrescu. Osaka's up here. And you're going to drop down. Ali Risk, who's on one of our webinars right now. She's at 13.19. Yeah, it's great. Definitely take a look at these. But top college men, mid-14s, top pro men, low 16s, and ranging. And there's going to be overlap between those top college players and pros for sure.
And the other point about that, Matt, that helps is that when college players come out of college and they try to play the ATP Tour or the WTA Tour, they're good enough to compete at a certain level on either tour, but because they don't have ranking points on that individual ATP or WTA, they often don't. It's very hard for them to qualify until they've played for 6 or 7 months out there. With UTR, we can actually show them this is where you belong. And sure enough, when Stevie Johnson came out of college, took him about 3 to 4 months to get up to where UTR had already said he's already at that level. So it helps players understand where am I against this landscape of all the pros in the world. And so it's a great developmental tool for them to judge, is this worthwhile for me to go out there?
Love it. Yeah, I hope that's awesome information. I mean, we could talk to these guys forever. We definitely would want to have Dave and Matt back, and hopefully you guys will have us on a UTR webinar. Before we go, we have a number of great talks, and then maybe Matt, you can pull up your UTR talks as well if people want to join them. We have Gigi Fernandez coming on Thursday. We're excited. I believe we both wanted Nick Bollettieri. He's very entertaining. So Nick's coming on next week for us. Coach Mark Kovacs. Most of the people listening probably have our schedule. We'll send it out as well. And Matt, if you want to, I don't know if you have it accessible, if you want to pull up your guys' list of upcoming guests.
Yeah, let me see if it's loading here. Give me 1 second.
Sure.
And we have, let me share my screen. I don't know if it's loading on the other one, but yeah, we have Steve Johnson coming up, Jim Lair, Corey Goff. Corey Goff's coach here. 1 second. We have Yvonne Lendl coming up, Nick Bollettieri, Ali Risk went today. I think we have the full schedule here. And if you go to our My UTR, and I can actually put this in our chat here, you're going to see the full lineup of all the webinars here. Sam Query's already went. Anyone that already went, you can watch live. And we're going to be releasing a whole new list of webinars as well. And then some more for organizers, for everyone, understanding the algorithm. If you haven't seen this one and you're interested in the algorithm, highly recommend watching this. This is our data team reviewing the algorithm way more in depth than what we did today. So definitely jump into that one. And I will put this actually in the chat right now, this link. If anyone wants to, let's see, all panelists and attendees. Everyone should be able to get that if you want to look at all of our education series. And hopefully, yeah, we'll do another few together down the road with the awesome Centercourt team.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, this was great. This was our longest one yet, and it was highly engaging. So, I mean, very cool. Lots of incredible information. I'm sure all the parents and kids found it helpful. Guys, if you, everybody listening, if you have any ideas or any questions for these guys, just send them over to me and I can send them over to Dave and Matt. Just email, everybody's probably got my email, ari@centercourtclub.com. Cool. I'm going to leave it to you guys to finish up, but I just wanted to thank, Matt and Dave, of course, for taking time out, and Conrad and Rick, my old pals. Hopefully we'll see you at the club soon. And that's it. I've said my piece. Again, stay safe, everybody. And thanks again for coming on, everyone.
Great job, Ari.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks for including us.
Thanks, Matt. See you, Dave.
Thank you
Be
so
safe.
much, guys.
Awesome.
Much
Be in
appreciated.
touch.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, guys.
Everybody
All right,
be
talk to
safe.
everyone soon.
Bye-bye.